Okay, in this segment we're going to talk about the options over here in the right hand menu. So we've got objects, materials and settings. Pretty basic. The options tab first, it allows you to select different objects that you can put into the game. So beds, lights, blocks. There's many different shapes of blocks you can use and stretch into different shapes. Tables, trees. Love to see more trees in game. I don't think most people realise that the trees in game take up very little space from a file size point of view. So to have 300 or 400 trees in a room is not going to take up much file size, but they do they are a pain in the ass to place, especially if you've got an unflat surface, because as you can see, the trees tend to follow the surface. So if you've got an environment where there's like a landscape, the trees are quite painful to place, but it's good to see them in game. So pretty self-explanatory. These, just click your way through them. Cars, for example, we put a car down here. Now just remember, I'm using the hand tool, or I'm holding space down with the directional arrows to allow me to align these props with the flat surface. So I can put this car up here or put this car up here if I like. So it's just a matter of holding the space bar down when you're moving it. And with cars, you can actually change their colors. With things like motorbikes, you can't change the color of a motorbike, but you can change the color of a boat, for example. Or you can change the racing stripe on the side of it. So the materials, so you can obviously got lots of different patterns, and so there's all your patterns you can choose from. Solid colors you can choose from. There's glass, blurred glass. There's lots of timber materials you can choose from. So we select our platform at the bottom here. You can see there's all these different timber materials that we can choose from. These nature materials. Some of these actually move. You can't see this. Let me select this block. Let me just see this one here, which is lava, actually shows as moving, and the same with this one here, and that one there as well. So some of them move, some of them don't. That's actually water. You can see that one there in the behind us. There's ice. So again, lots of different textures you can use in game for when you're building to create different effects. And there's a myriad of them. Obviously, there's effects here that you can use, and these actually work out really well when they're combined with other objects as well. So let's just make this one solid again. Now, one thing I will say about textures, and something to be aware of if you're a fussy builder. So you can see these bricks here. The textures don't move with the bricks, with the blocks. The blocks move around the textures. So as you can see, I'm moving this block around. The texture remains in exactly the same place, and I'm actually moving the block around the texture. So if you want a nice straight brick wall with the edge of the brick right there, you've actually got to move the block to the texture. If I rotate this block, you can see now I've got blocks on an angle. Right, so just something to be aware of when you're building, especially if you get fussy with building. If you want a nice straight brick wall, as you can see there, the blocks have come out of alignment there. You may just need to move them around to get that nice straight brick wall. So just remember, the textures don't move, the blocks move around the textures. Okay, so let's move on to settings. So with the settings, I've covered some of these in an earlier video, but I'll just cover them all again really quickly. So ocean level, 0 is the default level. You can't go higher than 0, but you can go less than 0. So you can go -2, for example, and you've just moved the ocean down a bit. You can go -10,000 and get rid of the ocean altogether and put it way down there below you. All right, but you can't go any higher than 0. So 0 is the default ocean level. The snaps, so this snap step and the snap angle, these two tools here, and they talk about the how to move the block in increments. So currently it's set to 1 meter, and I'm holding control down while I'm moving the block, and it's moving in 1 meter increments. Exactly the same with rotation. Currently it's set to 15. Hold control down, and I'm moving it in 15-degree increments. The grid transparency, I normally have this off when I'm building. I don't use it, but it's there if you want to use it. And you can change the spacing of the grid. So right now the spacing is set to 1 meter. So each one of these blocks is 1 meter, making the larger area here a 10 meter square. So you can change this. I think 0.1 is the smallest you can go, which means each one of these small squares is now 100 millimeters, and the larger square here is 1 meter square. Again, I don't use it. I know some people do, but I prefer to use the transform tool to actually set the location of my block exactly where I want it. So if I want to move this one 0, 0, 0, I can now move him 5 meters that way, or I can make it -5 and move him 5 meters in the other direction. So if I'm building the scale, I prefer to use that than the grid. So I normally have the grid turned off. You can move the grid up and down if you really want to. So adding a number or making a minus number and -5 will move the grid. It's actually down below the ocean level at the moment. And the gizmo scale. So the gizmo scales are a very interesting option, and I do use it a lot. Quite often you'll be working on a group of props and you want to be able to click on these squares on the inside. And the gizmo itself, I guess, is the 3DX name for these tools up here, the movement tools. Which is why they call it the gizmo, because it's named after one of the devs. So if we change this to 5, you can see that I've now made my gizmo a whole lot bigger, and it's a whole lot easier to click on these square bits to move the prop around in different directions. So sometimes if you've got a prop like on an earlier video, which is an object, which is way over there, and you want to move it, but the arrows are really, really small, you can come in here and change the scale of the gizmo to whatever you want to make it easy for you to see it and move it around. So really handy tool, and I do use it quite often, especially when you're building smaller stuff or working with a large group of props. The little tool you can quite often get lost in it, and it's hard to click on. So that's what the right-hand menu is all about. Pretty simple, and have a play with it and enjoy yourself building.